Welcome back. This is part 2 of the homework to show you how to get that done and be ready for class. So once you have run all the code in the assigned reading and you have this file, book code, that's what you want to turn into the homework Dropbox. And then at that point you are able to access the new PowerPoint for the next class. In this case, it's 2.1. Okay, so when you're looking at a PowerPoint, you know you're going to have multiple files come into play with that. There's going to be an exercise file that will be for miscellaneous code that's in the PowerPoint. And then sometimes the PowerPoint will tell you to download a resource file from D2L, or it will tell you to create a new file and put code in it that you're going to use for the lab. Okay, so this PowerPoint here for chapter 2.1 is a good example. Not on the second slide here, but by the time you get here, it actually says, it's talking about DOM's perimeter.py program, posted in D2L resources. So when you see something like that, you know you want to go out to D2L in the resource area and download the perimeter program, and then you want that to be in your lesson folder so you're ready to run that in class. So, you know, it's going to vary what comes up first in the PowerPoint. In this case, it's a program in D2L resources. So when I go over here, I'm in Materials, Content, and Resource Files. And then that's where I find, when I look down through, I'm trying to be careful about naming Demo 2.1 DOM's Perimeter. So that's what is being discussed in the PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. When I click download, then I know that is going to just be something, if I click save, that's sitting in my downloads file. Okay, so I will click OK and just know it's in my downloads file. So when I come over to PyCharm and I want to make sure I get that file in here, I don't want to just go to my downloads file and double click on that file. That would, you know, be basically opening a new project if I do that. So what I want to do is I want to navigate to the folder that it's in, downloads, and I want to move it into here. So the way we're going to do that is, the best way to do it is just use the Windows or Mac file management that you're used to with any other file. So I'm going to look for downloads, and then I'm going to try to find it in here. It looks like it's there. I need to click that OK button. OK, and then back here. If it's not in there, you know, just try it again. Here's the demo that's now in my downloads file, and I want to move that into PyCharm projects, and specifically into this folder right here. So I'm going to just drag it over there. So to handle downloaded files, best is just download, save, and then move it into the right project folder, and then you'll find over here it pops up. Okay, and you can go ahead and follow the instructions in the PowerPoint to run it, look at it. A lot of times we're going to do something with it in class, but it's just to be ready and maybe to try to understand what's in there. When I'm looking at the PowerPoint and I just see this Lesson 2.1 exercise file, that means this is just miscellaneous code and I need an exercise file in order to copy that over. So that's where I'm going to, instead of downloading a file, I'm going to come on the project folder name, right click, and do new Python file. And I'm going to do lesson 2.1 exercises. The name is not important to be exact, but to differentiate between the book code and the PowerPoint exercises. So you can use your own naming. But yeah, here now I'm looking at a blank file. I know you know how to write your long comment in there. I'm looking on slide 3, and I have some miscellaneous code that I'm going to go ahead and say, what the heck is this? Let me take this piece there, and let me take this second piece. And this is fairly, complicated. It has comments. So I'm probably going to run that and see what happens. And this is actually the result of running that. So I'm going to look at the code and I'm going to try to understand how do these two different approaches result in the same thing. And which one do I like better? Again, these are shortcuts from one of the former tutors. So it's just, interesting information to answer some questions you may have when you're working with Python that the tutors had thought, I think this is interesting and important information. So I'm just sharing it there. When we go on down through the PowerPoint, sometimes you're faced with a situation where maybe the code is so simple you don't feel like you need to run it. It's very similar to what was in the book, and you understand what's being said. No need to put that in here if you don't need to. Same here, borderline. If you want to, go ahead and put it in there, but you will want to use your own judgment on that. Also at times, here we have a situation talking about this little block, and you notice if you go forward, it always pays off to go forward a few files. Because look, that same code is being added for several slides. So what I'm going to want is for slide 6 to 9, this is the, the end all of that. At that point it goes on to something else. So it does pay to look ahead, reading this, saying, okay, that makes sense, let me go forward. You go forward, oh, they're still talking about it. And then at this point, that's the end of it. I'm going to maybe just put this version. And that's slide 9. So you use your judgment on what you put in your file from the PowerPoint. Hope that makes sense. And of course, it's important that you understand the progression from 6 to 9 of what's being told to you in the white print, but the code be a little bit time-saving to actually look ahead. Now, moving on from there, there's some more miscellaneous code. That will go in the exercise file. A lot of times it will tell you. Same deal. If it says exercise file, put it in there. If it doesn't say anything, put it in the exercise file, or maybe just use your judgment. But when it says, like here, it specifically says put this version into a new apollo.py file since it will work better for our lab. That's when you know this one is one you want to come over, right click on the project folder, new Python file, and say apollo.py. You'll have your long comments at the top. I'll let you fill that in. And then it specifically says this is the version we want to start out with for the lab. Right there. So when you make the investment to set that file up over here, you're basically getting your lab done in advance, partly. Because the lab instructions are going to tell you to do certain things to that file, but you're already ready to run with it when you come in, and you've already tested this much. Okay? And just going forward, slide 14. Doesn't say anything here. Again, it always pays to look ahead, because 14 and 15 is saying this version it's talking about, it's going to go in a new file, grade.py. So you're looking for file names, and you're saying if there's no file name, that means it's just miscellaneous, it goes in the exercise file. But this one here, once again, I'm going to go right click, new Python file. This is grade.py. Now I'm going to need my long comments at the top. And I'm going to take this whole block here, pretty big block. And there's a chance between slide 14 and 15 and the code itself, there's a chance that you would be able to start these improvements. That's going to be part of the lab. So when you think about it, you're walking into next Tuesday's class on lesson 2.1. You've read the book and you've saved the code and you've run the code. You have looked at a resource file from D2L. You have created your exercise file that has code snippets in it. Run them, trying to understand what's the PowerPoint telling me about this code, and then creating two files, Apollo and Grade, that will actually be turned in. And look how far ahead you are to start, from there. Basically, when you come in, what we should be doing is saying, like, okay, what were your questions about the lesson and the chapter? We shouldn't be downloading files and creating files at that point. We should be talking about the actual content. And that way, we'll be able to run examples, and we'll be able to take these programs and put them into a PDP framework and study, what is the overall framework that we're solving here. That's where we want to get to, and so I hope that this video would really help, because we're going to start conducting class assuming that you're coming in with these files. That's the only way that we're going to be able to get done with our lab work. Alright, so hope that helps. And then, of course, when you go to turn in work, you're more organized. You know where it's at. You know that when you view things in PyCharm, they exist in a certain location. Not in downloads, of course, but in your file directory. So when you have to upload for D2L, you can readily navigate to that file. That's our goal that we want to get to, and then at that point we'll be moving a lot faster. Alright, thanks, bye.